getting out there, getting involved with Washington state lands and some of their stuff that they want to cut, and trying to get to be a manager of those units up there in the state lands, especially up north half, and that'll alleviate some of our contracts, with these guys to supply some wood. So that'd be another way to do it, do the stewardship contracts. And then I think lastly, when we talk about management, I really do want to have the forest people here, because they have they talk quite extensively back and forth on the process of how it looks and acts and feels, and it's very important that everybody gets involved with that portion, the integrated industry management plan and BIA, so that we can get on top of that and make sure. I don't think there's anywhere like clear cuts happening. I've never seen clear cuts in a long time, but the clear cuts that I do see, they're not our lands. There's some lands within this reservation boundary that are not under our control. They're fee lands run by the state, and I'm talking specifically about the lands up there in the Kewah Trail going up from Inchalim, the backside from Inchalim to Keller. That land in there, yeah, that land in there between Inchalim and Keller, there is some lands in there that's not our land. It's fee land. We have no jurisdiction over that fee land within our own boundaries. And I've had a really problem with the way they cut that forest over there, and I haven't found a way yet to work, with the state. Say, hey, you guys need to adjust to our RMP, because the way you guys cut that was pretty aggressive. And it's not congruent to our practices here on the Caldwell Reservation. That's some of the things that I've seen, so I just wanted to pass it on to you guys. But I look forward to having the forest management guys here the next time we come in.
Yeah, I think you guys both bring up great points about oversight and cost management. I think we need to incorporate that into everything that we do going forward. Stina also brings up a great point, and we've been meeting with Washington DNR about, so they have regulations when a logging unit goes up for sale. So they have specific regulations where they leave a certain number of trees, and the way some of these fee landholders have been operating is that where those two sites come together, they leave those trees right next to each other, and they take everything around it. And that's what we see when we go out in the forest, like, what is going on here? So we're working with them to make sure that they coordinate with us. And I think with this new change in administration, I believe Governor Inslee is going to put pressure on them to listen to us on that issue. So, that's what the initial feedback is.
Yeah, John, I think what Celia was talking about, we're being baited from the state of Washington to have that type of attitude and establish precedents, which I really don't believe they have, because we haven't lost our sovereignty. When they come on within the boundary reservation, they're invading our territory. And I think that should be an issue that we should take to the governor and say, listen, we're willing to talk to you people, because we have to operate in their business. We're out here to do something, and the state comes here and does something, and their logging could impact those guys, next thing we're in the damn lawsuit.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You get liability, and that's why I talked about throwing the CPM system in there. You're impacting CPM, and then you're dealing with negotiations from then on and extra costs, whatever, cause you're negative again. Mm-hmm. So I think that the state of Washington is doing us wrong, because that doesn't allow us to do the proper planning yet. If they allow somebody to come in here and get the garden trays, come and start cutting logs and raising hell.
No, you're exactly right. It isn't just forestry too. It's fish and wildlife. I mean, there's a number of issues that we're battling the state on.
If you go up to Crawfish Lake, they've got a helicopter landing pad where they fly you guys in from all over. I'm here, and it's all times.
All right, I just wanted to go back a little farther than kind of where this starts from. At one time, the council, we all had a retreat over in Inchlim, and we'd all got together there, had some debate on CIPV and the CIPP, and it goes back to the expenses that was coming out of the general fund that we were having to just bleed. I think it was almost $3 million a year between the two mills to allow them to sit the way they were sitting. They brought this idea of Atlas coming in, and we were negotiating on some of their requirements and some of the specs that they were wanting from our forest. And in the very beginning, I was totally against it. You know, I felt like, I'm just being honest, I felt like the specs was something that wouldn't really benefit us the way that we wanted to benefit. Even though it was going to provide jobs for our people, I wanted to make sure that we were the ones kind of holding the ace, so to speak. We were going to provide the product to them that they needed, but it also had to be right for us. So in the beginning, we had to make two things. We actually voted to scrap out all of CIPV. So we would have got a one-time payment. I can't remember if it was $1 million or something like that we would have got. That was all we were going to get out of the mill. And so at that point, I supported that. We kind of did a vote around there, and to my understanding, it passed. And somehow along the little while after that, things changed. The direction changed. They said, well, we got this company. We're still working with them. We're going to renegotiate with them. They're lowering their specs. It sounds a little more favorable to the tribe, to our forest. And I said, well, I'm willing to listen to anything. And in the beginning, the way I understand is we were going to have to cut like 60 million board feet to meet the $30 million spec requirement. And any of the part of the logs that they rejected, we were going to have to take the cost on ourselves, market that, and do everything on our own. And so that's why I was so adamant and against the first proposal that had been brought to us. But once they loosened up their specs and they negotiated, I thought about the jobs that the people were going to get. You know, our people have been unemployed. All the people, I don't know how many people lost jobs when the mills shut down. The bleeding of the general fund that everyone complains about all the time, and saying, you know, why are we putting all this money at? You know, and that's why I supported scrapping it out. Get rid of it. Let's be done with it. But you know, to make a long story short, you know, I'm excited. I'm happy that we're going to provide jobs for our people. I'm glad that they're going to be able to provide for their families. We've been very adamant at the table, and with Taro's been working with Atlas, to my understanding, to where, and I've said it a million times at that table, I said, I don't want you guys starting a job tomorrow and then signing all these work permits telling Atlas that we don't have any qualified, certified people. So I said, you got to start taking them training dollars now and start preparing and training our people so that within this next 3 months, we got as many people of our own tribal members that can move up to the higher positions. They've given me their word on it. And as far as Taro, you know, I've always been against Taro. As you all know, we made a decision a while back to change direction with our Taro director. So, you know, we got someone new in that position, and I think, you know, they have a right to prove themselves or not prove themselves, so I'm giving them a chance to provide that. And I've been in that person's ear a lot, saying, you know, I won't accept hiring all these non-tribals if we got people within our own reservation that can do the job. And so they've given me their word on that. You know, some of these mill people, that's all they know. They've done it for 20, 30 years of their life. Once the mill shut down, a lot of them don't have education, don't have college degrees. They're hurting, you know, and someone made this comment to me a while back, and it says, you know, once our tribal people lose their jobs, they become a client. You know, they're applying for TANF, they're applying for welfare, they're applying for food stamps, commodities, you know, and I support any tribal member, any family that can provide for themselves, you know, and the old saying goes, you know, I can give you $1 today, you'll be back tomorrow trying to borrow another $1, but if I give you a job, you'll be able to provide for yourself for a long time. It'll give you self-esteem. Maybe it'll keep you off the alcohol and drugs, you know, maybe it'll lower the rate of suicide and all these things that we know that are going on out here with our tribal membership. A lot of the cries I hear from the members is there's no jobs. You know, that's what we're trying to do, and that's why I changed my stance. I was real firm saying, no way, I'm not going to support this. But as time went on, I got more educated and negotiated. I felt like it sounded like it was more favorable to the tribe. I changed my stance. I support it. You know, the other issues that I had was, I don't want Atlas coming in and thinking they're gonna get the best of our logs, and we're stuck with clear cuts like Ducky says and stuff like that. I said, no, I said, as long as you can prove to me that we're doing it the right way and we're gonna change our practices in that forest, then I'm negotiable. And we've been working we've got a restoration task force team, we got forestry involved, BIA, all these different enterprises that are actually out there in the forest. Like Ducky says, for us to be out in the forest all the time, I don't think is realistic for a councilman. We've got one person that runs Natural Resource Committee. People have issues, they address him, he bring it into committee, we discuss it, we debate, and we vote on it. All 14 of us can't be out in the forest checking, on what's going on as far as compliance, and if you have issues or concerns, then I think that should be taken up with the right committee chairperson, and then they can bring it to the table and we can follow up with it. But we can't be everywhere at the same time.
Oversight representative even have to do that, and that's what I'm saying here. I'll be back talking to you guys, because it's all right, they thought some things that should be right into the contract, and maybe they are. I talk to you guys, I find out they are. But my point is, you made a point, and you're making that point that tells me that it's not in the damn contract. So there's something why, that's what I asked you guys. I asked him to let me come up and read that thing for you guys. Because if I got involved with the damn thing, then those things have been covered. I'm not here to put you guys down. I'm not trying to stop anything. I'm for progress. That's what I did for the white guy in the outworld. I made him billions of dollars. And I'm sitting here listening to things that you guys aren't aware of. And I'm upset, and I shouldn't be, but I guess I get upset because I feel you're not listening. But I think you guys are taking notes. I hope you are listening. And I'm not here to tear anybody down. I have a little heart problem right now, and I'm a little upset. Big acknowledge you guys for that, my position. I really appreciate what you said.
After this meeting, let's.
Are we waiting for our turn to speak, or are we just speaking out every time somebody stops talking?
Yeah.
I know you guys are taking names down, so if that's how we're going to conduct today's meeting, then we can all start talking.
I couldn't agree more. I have a list, so next up is Larry. Let's try to stick to the list.
Okay, this is my last statement I want to make in my support of Atlas is if we don't manage the forest, the bugs are going to manage it for us, and they're going to manage it not the way we want it to be managed.
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you. First, I'd like to state that I'm a third-generation logger. I have held positions, from the beginning to the executive management. So I'm saying this for the purpose of the Atlas. What you will see in here are people that are at least second, if not third, or even fourth generation people in this forest. The other thing I want to state is you are coming in to take our pie. You're getting a section of our pie. Because this plant right over here, what would it cost you to build? Granted you're coming in and renovating and putting some money in, but to acquire the land, to put up the buildings, to have such a resource, we're in your backyard. You can't ask for a better situation. So when you start talking losses and, we're for us, don't take, I might feel confrontational, but I'm not being. I'm just kind of helping we, the people here, because it's our resources that you're going to be utilizing. Yes, we're using some of yours, but you're only bringing in a small part at the moment. There are people here that are experienced. You're going to find people that are dedicated. You'll find people that are willing to work double shifts, 2.5 shifts. I worked out here at the CIPP mill. I worked in the forestry. There's times where we work 14 hours in the day just so we can meet production. So you're going to find a dedicated, hardworking people here. Things that you may not have come across in quite some time because we have a relationship to this land. We are from this land. We're from here. Our dedication and our desire to see you succeed is more than you would ever meet in a lot of communities. A lot of your communities, they're imports. We're not. We're native. We're Aboriginal people. And you'll find us to be smart, intelligent, dedicated, hardworking. You're going to find a great resource. So please, when you come in and talk about, oh, well, we are going to lose money. Well, you're going to get a dedicated force, you're going to get opportunities that no one else. The expenses, I understand. You know, I hold a master's in management and budget, so these people here, they may not have the same kind of education, but they have this education of this force, you know. And I'm sorry to our board member, but I feel we should be part of that pot. Because once you start turning that profit, you can turn some good profits. You know, we should be more than just the leads. We should be part of that management. We should be getting some of that profit. Because what are you really bringing in? Some experience? Well, that mill had run for over 70 years. You know, it's a long time. The people here, we have over a century of managing our forest. We've seen it go from just a nice virgin forest where we want to be devastated. Yes, it's hard, and it's not that I don't appreciate you coming in and doing what you're going to do. But I want you to understand that we, people here, have a very invested part to this. We feel emotional about it. It brings us to tears for some of them. Why? Because this is our land. It's our resources. You know, I'm thanking Benny for stating about the selection, because I heard that there's going to be a selection. You're only going to get what you need for the premium to get the best dollars. I don't fault you for that, but that still gives us the crap at times. You know, if you are saying, yes, we're going to come in and help you with that stuff for an ancillary market, to bring that experience, that's important, because we don't have perfect trees. You know, we don't have the perfect land. It is perfect for us. This is art. So, hopefully, you hear what I'm saying. You see our faces, you realize that we care. And I had some other questions, but I'm going to sit down for it now. And thank you again. And please, I appreciate you assuring me that you're not going to be so in that aspect. And understand, when you go to hire someone here, that we care. We're more than, I think you'll find more dedicated employees here than you would have in many places. And especially now after 4.5 years.
Really appreciate that comment. You know, there are a lot of idle plywood mills all over the country, and what separates the ones that have made it from the ones that have not is just the people. It's all about the people who run the machinery. It's not about the machines. It's not about the trees or anything. It's about the people who run the place. And so hearing that kind of dedication that you expressed, that really, I mean, that's awesome. So I really appreciate that. You know, we'll do our best to make this a beneficial project for the community as well as for ourselves. And there is actually a built-in mechanism through which the tribe benefits more when profits are higher, and that is that the log price is ratcheted to the market. So when the market is high, we will be paying more for logs. When the market is low, we'll be paying less. So, and that is going to correlate directly to our profits.
Most of my questions were answered. One comment I do want to make, and I'm really glad to see that this is being taken out from underneath C-Tech. C-Tech is, can't stand C-Tech. However, I do have a couple of questions. After the logs have been harvested, who is responsible to replant or replenish the harvested timber? And are you guys going to start in prime timber, or are you guys going to start in the beetle kill timber for the mill? And for Atlas, I know that some time ago there was a pellet mill right out by CIPP that was run by Atlas. I don't know if it's the same company,
Thank you. I don't know what the first timber sales, do you know what the first timber sale is? About the logs. The replanting, first part of it is our responsibility. It's the BIA's responsibility. Part of that Quam plan, we wanted to put money into the greenhouse. We also wanted to put money set aside so that it would always be there. That's what that was for, the restoration part of it.
And what about your timber, the stuff you guys are cutting for sales? You know, and as of January, my partner and I was actually cut logs for a guy. When Steve said there are no more clear cuts, well, logging sales and cut was clear cut.
For the tribe?
It was not for the tribe, it was right up here, it was on tribal grounds. It was pretty much clear cut, for all the logs that my buddy cut. And yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we got to find out, if these are actually just, if they're tribal run, or if they're privately owned, or if they're fee land and state. We got to find those questions out, because I think there's differences in each one of those. But you bring up a really good question. I mean, a really good question though, and I really, you know, I'm pretty happy about this arrangement. And you know, we're going to be getting the jobs in the mill, but what we're also going to be getting is the jobs out in the forest there. And a lot of those jobs went away. People sold their equipment, got out of the business, and we are going to need to find our own tribal members to get back into that business. And you know, you guys may have heard about this whole agreement on Facebook, but we were trying to get you guys this information firsthand. We actually did the deal today. You guys are the first group to actually hear about it. There's probably going to be a press release tomorrow about it, and then, you know, it's going to triple from there. But the truth of the matter is, we need to get all you guys prepared and ready. You know, tell your family this is coming. Get them into Taro, and then also on the logging side, if you guys are interested in doing businesses, we need to get that moving too. And so we're trying to think ahead and trying to get our people ready to get into these positions and work. So I want to turn it over to Debbie though, because I want to share some good news with you, and she has some good information before everybody starts leaving about a job fair.
Wait, I wanted to say, you guys opened this up, and I put my hand up. When we first opened this meeting.
You're up right now.
No, I'm saying that the first 20 minutes was opened up to Atlas, and that was the questions that we were drawing towards, and we keep veering off of this, and, you know.
Okay, my apologies.
Everyone waiting on us.
My apologies.
You're up. It's your turn next. You're on the
Well,
list.
let me go to Debbie. I just,
I want to know how long our forest can.
No, she had. Go ahead. You have a question?
well, I had a couple questions directed towards Atlas, because that's who we opened the floor with.
Yeah.
And CTFC can answer, or Atlas, is are we running campground for real or on our stumpage? Because you gentlemen mentioned that you're buying from the sort yard. So do you pay for stumpage at the time of its scaling, or do you pay for stumpage at the time that it hits the yard that your diameter selection is at?
We pay for the log within,
Well, that's what I'm talking about, the log is itself. So if you pay for that diameter when it's scaled, or if your tribal members holding that cost, because once it's cut and scaled, that's when the money goes out for the contractors, the loggers, everybody else. So we could be sitting with 3 million to 5 million board feet holding in the log yard, waiting for you guys to start.
no, we pay
Logging
for it at the
season
time
starts.
of delivery.
So CTFC can answer the question too, because it has to be in your guys' lead.
Yep, that's the CTFC. They'll be responsible for the stumpage.
No, they're not.
When it's delivered.
At what point is Atlas paying us for the log?
As soon as it's delivered
Delivered to the sort yard or delivered to them?
to them.
So how many million board feet are we keeping in our sort yard on the tribe's dollar and the membership's dollar before it's paid for? Because I worked for the sort yard, I know we can hold 6 to 8 million board feet in the sort yard. So if we're holding that, we're looking at millions of dollars sitting there on the tribe's books that has to be paid out to contractors, has to be paid to BIA, has to be paid to the tribe for stumping. Are we holding that cost in this? And so then my next question is,
The last question is relatively straightforward. We take a specific diameter range. The mill can peel down to a 7-inch small top log, and it can take up to a 28-inch maximum size on the butt when it gets too big for the processing of that through the barking system. So if there's a log that has bigger than that, we can't handle it. If there's a log that's smaller than that, we can't effectively
I
handle
know
it.
that, but what diameter are you requesting for your mill? Are you taking, you're not taking the full tribal law, and the allocation agreement states that when we harvest this timber sale, we cut everything that's allowable in that harvest. So you have selected, you identified your harvest of timber that you prefer. So all the other stuff is the responsibility of the tribe and resource to eliminate. So I understand that part. What is your diameter species you're taking out of that harvest?
We take duck fir
No, not the species, no, what diameter are you taking?
down to 7-inch top.
Okay, so you're taking 7 to 20 plus.
Yes.
Okay, then, so who's holding the money for the stumpage while we're waiting for them to receive? That's my question to this lease council and CBC. Because that
So-
runs into millions.
Yes, so let me just try to answer that a little bit. I mean, we're not the only buyer in town, so,
No, I know, but we are gonna deck logs specifically for your
Right,
or
right.
usage.
So-
Right now, you guys say are 90 days out. 90 days from now, right now, we're gonna start our logging season, May, June, and then you guys are gonna need us to deck logs until you start running so that you guys can utilize it. So the tribe's holding this cost, that's what I'm gonna say, because nobody wants to answer. The tribe's gonna pay for the cost to log it, to get it into that yard, and sit on it until the first log is dead.
so, I mean, first of all, our log prices are significant. I can't give you the exact number, but the prices we're paying for the manufactured logs is higher on a per board foot basis than stumpage prices. So, first of all, our costs, what we pay.
I just wanted to answer to my question. And then, since Duffy brought up this compliance issue, and I noticed this wasn't on today's agenda, this goes to council when you guys mentioned, and you too, Sheriff, that the compliance issues aren't being taken care of, and they are the tribe's responsibility, and the superintendents and the BIAs for making sure these issues take place. I attended a meeting, and I've seen all these flyers going out and all these meetings going out for the protests being paid out of the settlement money. And at the meeting, the attorney was there, Brian Gann, and it was identified that the reason we weren't spending any of this money foolishly or wherever and giving it just to the people, that the settlement was for specific reasons, and that was for resource. And then I've seen a resolution that passed through the other day for 40 million plus for the new admin building. Yeah, we all want to look better, keep up with the Joneses, but where is that resource? I mean, to me, resource, when I see resource, I think of the timber, the water, the forest, everything. And then we see a resolution coming in, yeah, I work for the tribe. Me, I'm one of the fortunate ones. But what about the other 6,000 members of the tribe who aren't going to benefit from working in this building or even seeing the building because they don't live here? Where does that 40 million plus? When Brian identified with the council, yes, we can't use that money for whatever we want because it's part of the resource. And
That's right.
I don't see this new admin building supporting any resource other than the employees of the tribe.
Yeah, and that's the next topic. Right after this, we're going to cover that. Oh yeah, it's on the agenda. Yeah, that's the next item. So right after this, we're going to get to that. I've got Bill and then you. Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically my question is to get you there. When I worked at the mill, our foreman used to tell us that our chips used to pay for our wages. And is that going to come to us? The chips. You chip a log when it was waste. And another thing we was in the process of doing, we shipped the sawdust down to White Swan where they were about the size of that table there. We could make a chipboard product out of it. So there was no waste. at all, and we profit from it.
The chips that come from a residual output of the mill.
Right.
Because you can't, when it's a round log, it's imperfect in shape and everything else, it's gonna make chips, it's gonna make veneer, it's gonna make just fuel.
Heavyweight profit.
And when you sell the chip, you just give a little bit of revenue back in the revenue of the sales of the chip. The question I think you're asking is that revenue enough to cover the price of the wages?
Yes.
Actually, no, it's not.
What's the price of it now? You have an idea?
I can tell you what it is per ton.
Yes.
It's about $25 a ton.
What about your sawdust?
There is no sawdust in the heating process, but there is a wood waste.
Yeah, I know there is. I worked in stud mill too. I used to do work for them. The smaller diameter you're talking about?
No.
We didn't waste that. We made studs out of that.
Of course, but that's not a plywood.
Yeah.
That's a stud. My understanding is that the timber that flows off of the tribal land, under the oversight of the sort yard organization, they will merchandise that timber and sell those trees to either a stud mill or they will sell them to us. We buy a portion of them. Stud mills like Logan Brothers buys a portion of them. Other mills who are pine mills like Boise Cascade buy a portion of the logs. We buy a portion that's suitable for peeling.
Okay, the core.
The core gets sold as a core. It gets sold for about 80 cents to $1 each.
I just want to know these guys be aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry?
Because I was on the council when this originally came forward, and this was not the only company that was dealing with the council. So I do have some insight. And the only reason I ran for council was because of CIPP being shut down. And I definitely care that our people have work. It was a huge cost to all the tribal members that work there and their families, and the homes that were lost, and retirement, cars, and we just devastated our people. And I'm ashamed of that. But I was one that much preferred that CIPP be reopened because we could diversify so many different ways. And I did have problems with this contract or lease. And part of it was not size. And I'm told that that has changed now. And I was concerned about there being $1,000 paid for scrap, what's considered scrap. And also, there is about approximately $2 million worth of usable equipment out there that has not ever been put into that mill. What's going to happen to that was my questions at the time. And that we were going to be required to dispose of the wood, any waste at our expense. The question on sovereignty, who is going to be the court of jurisdiction if there's any disputes. I'm still concerned about that. And also at the time, there was a question on the allowable cut, because we couldn't run both mills and then both be successful with the size of allowable cut that we have. So those are all problems that worked together, and the decision did not get made. Plus, there was a lot of political interference with the different boards. And also, I'd like to know who's going to be responsible for the scaling. And my other big problem at the time on negotiations was I wanted it in writing uh, of the people that would be employed. And were they going to be management type or special type workers, or is just the run of the labor? And those things need to be in writing because our people need to move up the ladder. And that was the other reason I wanted to see IPP going, because our people did run that. They knew what they were doing. And we weren't depending on an outside entity to keep that mill going. I'm glad that people will be employed. We definitely need employment, but I'm also concerned that we don't give away too much. And I've heard that this company is going to be using our plant as collateral to get monies for the new equipment that they're going to need. That one I would really like an answer to. And how much of our land is going to be used in this lease? Is it 10 acres, 15 acres? There's another one I've heard by the Moccasin Telegraph that we were compromising that whole 364 acres. Is it? I'm sorry, but I don't remember the exact figure. And I certainly hope that's not true, because we were in the process of putting that into trust, and we have many ways that we can use that land other than giving it to someone else or putting it in jeopardy with somebody else's loan, an outside entity's loan. Those are huge concerns to me. And I heard you say C.B.C, and all wood products was left in the old C-Tech, and the assets of was left there. So how can they be making a deal with the federal corporation when the assets are with C-Tech? I already heard you both cute one on that one, but I'd like you to explain it to other people. You know, this mill is going to use mainly fir, right?
70% fir.
And that was another reason I was concerned on having CIPP, is that we, with an upgrade, $2 million upgrade, we could have diversified. That equipment wouldn't know what kind of species was going through it, and we could have diversified.
You guys want to, you guys need to go to this mic because nobody can hear what you have to say anyway. Okay.
We have a huge problem out there in the forest, and I've always felt that our council should get out there at least once a year and tour. If not one part, we need to go over all of it. But if you see what's out there, it makes a lot of difference when you're sitting at the table trying to make decisions. You can have people come in and tell you things, but until you actually see it, it's completely different. I did take trips out when I possibly could, and one of the last ones I took was the one when we went out and checked the spruce bugworm. And it is just devastating what that bug has done, and to our fir. And there is where we've made, and BAIA has allowed it, we've planted the same species in these areas and not diversified with different species. If you plant different species, the bug isn't going to kill the whole thing. But a lot of this is why we got that settlement money. And Ed is so right on. You know, we need oversight. Ducky, we need oversight. And that's another thing on it. When you have a board that is unfamiliar with forest or lumber, how can they have oversight? I've never understood that. I really liked it. When we first started CIPP, there was a timber board. Those people all had knowledge of either lumber, timber, logging, something. And not many people pulled the wool over their eyes. Not saying that anything against Atlas Company, but if you got a product, you should have a board that understands that product. Anyway, if I can have some answers to some of that. On this knot size, you're asking for the cream of the crop, and it's going to take a lot of our sorting to get it.
Yes. So, to answer to address each one of those individually, I think we'd be here all night. I've got a plane in the morning, so. But I think, first of all, the issues that you raised that I can address. Most of what you everything that you mentioned that I can address, we either changed over the course of the negotiations since you were on the council, or I believe you don't have, or I don't understand the agreement the same way that you interpret it. For example,
I was one of the few that read it.
I can tell that you clearly read it. But in terms of for example, liens on the assets, there's no liens on the ground. That's not even possible. And if we do take, the agreement states that if we do bring in a third party who wants a lien on the building, we would pay you for that privilege. And it's not even certain that we would even do that. But, so anyway.
I can answer the acreage one. Actually, a couple of them. There was a transfer of assets for CTFC to take over that portion of this CIPB because, frankly, CTEC has 3 people on their board and they don't have a staff. So there was a lot of issues. Just getting on the last 6-7 months, there was a lot of things asked for them, and they're volunteer, they're not being paid, and we needed to move this along. There was significant changes in the contract that made it better for us. The land says up to 368 acres, that's the total size, from my understanding, that was done to speed up the process to get it through. There's a plan in place to make sure that the exact size is going to be delineated out. The reason why, if we waited, there's 3 different sections within that 368 acres that would have held it up even longer. So to get this process going, we set up the entire site up to, and then we're going to bring that back to what they exactly need, and then we'll have more time to address the 3 different sections in that piece. Let me see. Oh yeah, and it can still be put into trust. That doesn't keep that. We talked about allowable cut. I can't even read that. Scaling. We're going to be in charge of scaling. That's the tribe's portion. No.
There's 2 scaling. CIA scaling requirement that they have their own standards to, their own specifications. The log supply agreement that we're buying logs under is a third-party scaling bureau scaling methodology. It basically simply says we take down to 7 inches, we take up to so and so size, and if it fits within that dimensions, and it fits within those bureau grades, and this is the way the industry runs. It gets scaled by a third-party bureau scaling, and that's what we pay on. Now, what the tribe, what CTFC pays on for stumpage is a different scaling. It's the same rules, it's the same mechanism, but it's a different, but the BIA has their own scaling. So it's, actually, there's two scaling done, one checks the other. That's the way the scaling will be done.
And I think we got most of your questions.
Now, on the land, you're saying that the tribe still holds title to that it all was a quick claim for this lease?
Correct. I want to move on to Michelle, so we can, there's people on the list that's waiting. Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, I just want to share my story of this whole Precision Pine, CIPB. I'm a third generation, come from logging, farming. And I've worked at CIPB for 21 years. I was their accounts payable. I then in turn, my husband had worked there as the head filer for 23 years. My grandfather worked at Power and Veneer, Crown Zellerback, Laos Coleman, whatever we wanted to call it. I've been here for 50 years on the reservation, born and raised. Both mills shut down. Luckily, I came from a very strong woman who taught me to work hard, pay my bills, do what I had to do to secure my home and my family. Raised my daughter here, bought a home, wasn't one that lost her home, didn't lose her car. My husband and I both lost our jobs within 9 months of each other. We worked at the same place. That'll never happen again. My husband stayed in the lumber. He's a head filer for Boise, Cascade, and Kettle Falls. We still live on the north half, on the reservation, but we see each other on weekends after 33 years of marriage. That's a hard stretch. I am proud that these people have come in. I thank you. You're bringing back jobs to nieces, nephews, grandsons. I also hope that people understand they're just going to run a plywood plant. We're responsible for our forest. We're responsible for all those other things. They're just going to run a business. We have fought. I was on the NRC committee secretary. I have photographic memory, so it's hard to forget. I know the three people who put in to try to lease or run this mill, the employees included. John and I were on a committee the employees were going to try to buy it like they did the OWP. We saw how that worked. You know, still the same people, but we saw how that worked. These guys have stuck with us for 2.5 years or longer. They keep coming back to the table year after year of council changes. I know, my mom was a councilwoman for 12 years. You know, this is no secret. We need to give them a chance. We, through our hiring procedures, need to hire our loggers, hire our people. We know we've got damn skilled workers out there to run these places. We've done it. Even when it didn't belong to us, we've done it. And we'll prove it. Let them pay us the check every month. Let them pay us what we haven't been getting for the last 4 years. And, you know, give it a try. I'm ready for it because I'm tired of driving by that dinosaur. I mean, my grandfather built that ranch out there at Omak Lake with his bare hands, and he went to work at nights in that mill. I'm ready to see those stacks burning again, and I could hear that whistle already, so give them a chance.
I just have a question. Like you guys were saying, SNEA, when you opened up, was there was a lot of issues when negotiations first started. I don't know if it was Atlas that required in part of the agreement was that they wanted a separation fee. If we couldn't provide the resources, they could just pack up, call it quits, and we owe them so many $1 million. Okay, that was one of the questions. And I just wanted, because that was a big issue that just kept being thrown out. We're not going to, we don't want to sign nothing with, if we got to pay these guys to pack up and leave. Another part of my question is I just got my 20 years out of CIPP. I was there for 20 years. I got laid off. I went from a